What does MLS have to do? They just lost Vancouver Whitecaps, that is, 5-0 to Cruz Azul in a PSG Inter Milan fashion UEFA Champions League, which seemed like that would almost be impossible to look as bad as Inter Milan did in that Champions League final. Yet Vancouver somehow found a way to do it. Absolutely embarrassing. The biggest blowout I have ever seen in Concacaf Champions Cup final history. I thought last year's match against Pachuca, the Columbus Crew, was bad enough, 3-0. And I thought, well, there's no way it could be that bad again, right? They said that Columbus had food poisoning, all these things that contributed to their embarrassing loss, the altitude, all these things. Vancouver even called up Columbus to try to get some advice on what they could do differently to try to prepare for this match and hopefully win the Concacaf Champions Cup for the second time in the last 25 years for an MLS Cup team or MLS team. Hey, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of my videos. Now, back to the video. Seattle Sounders were the last team to win it in 2022 when they beat Pumas in a two-leg final. MLS get absolutely embarrassed on the road. And we need to have a serious discussion about what went wrong, what needs to change, and who's to blame for this terrible performance by the Vancouver Whitecaps. Vancouver Whitecaps have completely dominated Major League Soccer in 2025. They've arguably been the best team. Jesper Sorensen has been a great manager in Major League Soccer, probably coach of the year thus far with what he's been able to do with a Vancouver Whitecap team that's essentially the same as it was last year, that finished around 16th or 17th in the league last season. Essentially the same team, and has elevated them to the first place team in the entire league. This was not a team that looked like the best team in Major League Soccer. This looked like a team that would be at the bottom of the table. A team that had no attacking prowess. The defenders were giving up way too much space, not marking any of their men. A team that looked like they have never played a big game in their entire careers. They just looked like the lights were too bright for them to do anything in this match to try to compete and win this Concacaf Champions Cup. They couldn't get anything going. This team didn't have a single shot all 90 minutes. Not a shot on goal, not a single shot attempt the entire game. Cruz Azul had 13 or 14, 6 or 7 shots on goal, 5 goals. You could see the talent disparity between Vancouver and Cruz Azul in the attack. It wasn't even close. And by the way, side note, Brian White, probably going to be the starting striker for the USMNT at the Gold Cup. Might be in trouble if that happens. Might be in trouble. We'll see. That's a side note. He didn't do anything this game. He couldn't get any service. Jay Nelson was bad. Kubas was bad. Vitti was bad. Tristan Blackman was absolutely terrible in this game. Terrible in this game. So many players probably had the worst game of their career in this match. When the lights were the brightest, when the stage was the biggest, these players had the worst performance of their career. And they embarrassed not just themselves, they embarrassed Major League Soccer, because MLS at this point is trying to prove themselves on a global stage that they do belong, that they are a good league. And they lost to a Liga MX team who is probably top 5 in the league, but they're not the best team in the league. They lost 5-0. 5-0. No MLS team should be losing in a CONCACAF Champions Cup final 5-0. We're not talking about a bad team in Major League Soccer. We're talking about a team that's supposed to be one of the best. And it begs the question of what is wrong with Major League Soccer. Now, look, I don't want to make excuses because Vancouver just got outplayed today. And maybe Vancouver's just not as good as we thought they were. Maybe they've just been lucky. And I'm going to be very curious to see if Cruz Azul broke their spirits and if they totally collapse after this game, because this is a game that can break a team, especially with as bad as they lost. But one of the issues about Major League Soccer is they just don't spend the same amount of money, okay? They just don't. I was looking at this before the game, and Cruz Azul had 4 players on their teams that would be considered DPs on Major League Soccer that they just bought this year. They spent 11 million euros on a defender from Chivas who would be a DP in Major League Soccer. So you have this budget-friendly team in Vancouver playing in the Champions Cup final against a team that's got what would be equivalent to probably 8 or 9 DPs. It's just not even comparable. They got absolutely blown off the pitch tonight. Major League Soccer has got to increase the spending in the league if they want to win. And I have to read you guys this quote by Don Garber. This is hilarious. It's so funny how poorly this aged. What he said before this game started. This was 6 minutes before kickoff. This is what Don Garber said. Quote, "What a run by the Whitecaps. One match from making history in the Concacaf Champions Cup final. Their incredible journey reflects the rise of Canadian soccer and continued growth of MLS on the global stage. Good luck tonight." Have you ever seen a tweet age so badly than that post by Don Garber 6 minutes before the match? Tone deaf. Guy cursed this team before the game. I mean, this game showed you the deficiencies Major League Soccer still has and what they need to do to improve in order to compete in the Concacaf Champions Cup final and win this tournament. They should be winning this tournament at this point, but they're not. And the only person to blame is themselves with their lack of spending, stupid roster restrictions, and scheduling calendar. We'll talk, but we're not going to get into that. But the spending would go a long way. Building depth, giving teams more spending power to maybe have a certain team be able to make it to the Concacaf Champions Cup final, other than Vancouver, because they would actually have the depth, the defenders, the talent to make it to the final. This Vancouver Whitecap team beat Miami in a 2-leg aggregate, 5-1. 5-1. And then that Cruz Azul beat that team 5-0. I mean, it almost seems unbelievable. Now, Liga MX and MLS are close. When we see the neutral site, it's a very close game. Both teams have advantages when they play on or at home. They have advantages. Major League Soccer and LAFC beat Club America last night to go to the Club World Cup 2-1. Looked like a better team all game long. But in this game, they looked absolutely horrible and gave me flashbacks, PTSD flashbacks about all the bad, tragic games in history of the Concacaf Champions Cup final throughout the years. But even with that, I have never, in my life of watching Major League Soccer, I have never seen a Champions League final, Concacaf Champions League final that was this bad. I have never seen it this bad, ever. This is the biggest blowout I have ever seen between a Liga MX team and an MLS team in a championship game. Biggest blowout I've ever seen. It's despicable. It's embarrassing. And props to Cruz Azul. They came ready to play tonight. Absolutely dominating. Congrats on them on winning the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, the trophy. They'll be able to play in the 2026 Club World Cup now. They'll probably play in the tournament style in a couple years when they do it again. Congrats to them. They earned this 100%. But this game should be a learning experience for Major League Soccer of what they need to change, because what they have done has not been enough. All the rules they've implemented, and they still only have one CONCACAF Champions Cup final trophy in the last 25 years. Only one. They've made the final several times. They can't win it. They only have one trophy in the last 25 years since the Seattle Sounders. So hopefully this opens their eyes on what they need to change in order to win this consistently. I don't know if it will, because Don Garber doesn't really push the envelope of making changes to make the league better like that. He's very conservative, very stagnant, very old school in his approach. But hopefully this is a wake-up call, and hopefully they feel ashamed and embarrassed with how bad they lost. I want to know what you guys think down below. What does Major League Soccer need to change in order to compete for the CONCACAF Champions League Cup final? Is there anything they can do to compete besides spending money? Are we just cooked? Let me know in the comment section down below. But don't get it twisted. This was embarrassed. This was PSG versus Inter Milan 2.0. Absolutely in shambles for Major League Soccer. The league is in shambles after this game. This was a terrible performance. It looks really bad on the league. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of my videos. Sadly, I'm tuning out. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.